Well, finally, they all concluded their arguments, and of course, before Judge Klassen, and he handed down the sentence, 24 years for Nigerian Henry Okah, convicted on 13 charges on terrorist activities. Joining us to look at the sentencing of Henry Okah this morning is a lawyer, Jiti Ogunye. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, there's been a whole lot of argument to the extent that, well, people are a little bit divided even within the legal sector. I like to use that word now. But again, what is truly the difference in all of this whole argument? Yesterday we had Festus Keyamo. He says, well, they were absolutely wrong because leading up to this conviction, he was denied so many other opportunities, especially on presenting some of the witnesses from Nigeria here.
Well, let me first say, as a prefatory statement, that our country is going through a very serious challenge at this point. And when we discuss some of these matters, we do so with the hope, and with their hope, that the bloodletting in our country will come to an end. Nigeria practically now has become an open morgue and a vast graveyard. And this is a very serious matter.
Those are very strong words.
Yes. Yes. Just pick any newspaper. The Middle Belt has become a perpetual cauldron. Villages are being razed. People are being killed. In their scores. We're not having isolated cases of murder. One person being killed here and there. No. Or in a number of states or elsewhere, a river is floating with bodies that are not accounted for. And when that is generating a serious issue, something bad, something more terrible happens, and then we forget that. So we're having layers and layers of calamities, layers and layers of disasters. Kidnapping is rife, armed robbery is prevalent, and people are dying in scores. And so when we discuss this matter, we must do so with sobriety, realizing that the incident we're about discussing now, emanated from a bombing situation for which men claimed responsibility. And so when we try to justify or unjustify what had happened in South Africa, we must have the victims of this crime in mind. Unfortunately, in our country, we don't have a law as we have in the United States, for example, which is called Crimes Victims Act. In other words, how do you deal with the victims of a crime like this in a way that they will realize that there's some sort of closure, even if they cannot bring their loved one back. So when we discuss something like this, we must look at all those things. But now, I listened to your program yesterday, and I heard the arguments of Festus Keyamo. And a friend, where he tried to enlighten Nigerians that what happened in South Africa was a charade, and that it was a travesty of justice. I didn't expect less from him.
Why?
Because he said he's the one coordinating the defense of Henry Okah, both in South Africa and Nigeria, from Nigeria. And so he is, again, as he's done in the past, trying to tell Nigerians that this is more political than legal. This is more political than criminal. I did that successfully, if you ask me, in the Asari Dokubo's case. Asari Dokubo, if you recall, was charged to court. And the first day in court, Festus Keyamo addressed the press and said, look, we're going to use this trial to show that it is the federal government that